What's up, y'all? Matt, Dlux Fab, dluxfab.com. Today, we're building our front Perra Loca Builders kit axle. We already built the rear last week. Y'all saw that. Sweet little axle here. Front. So this is how it's going to come to you. All bagged up. So we're going to dump it all out and go through it together. So, got our axle shafts and hubs. Set those aside. Got our knuckles. These got our 1.9 heavy lowers. These are our brass 8mm with slug holes. These don't come with the slugs, but if you want to add those tungsten or brass slugs to these, we have those on the website. Your knuckles, we'll get to those in a bit. Got our steering truss. All that, pretty sweet. See here, got our drag link. Tie rod. Get to those in a bit. Got our tubes, C-hubs, and link mounts. Get to those in a minute or two. Got our third member. It's our high clearance, previously known as the DX44 center. High clearance center. We're using that on just about everything. These bags are also labeled too. 1, 2, 3. Where's 4? Is 4 inside of here? Oh, 4 is axle shafts. 5 tie rod drag link. You can see all this. Alright guys, if you look close you'll see these are also, bags are also all numbered. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. That's your order of assembly. Keeps it simple. That also allows us to, know which bag, which parts go in. So, we're going to start at 1. Hope you all having a good day. It's our third member. As before, we're going to start with our front diff. Front gets a standard AR44 gear set. Now these gears may or may not always be VP. Some will be VP, sometimes you'll see axial. It just depends on what we can get at the time. So we're only using gear sets we know that are good and hold up, they're good and strong, but they may be different brands depending on availability. It's a standard ring and pinion for this front axle. So, as before, we're going to grab a small parts bag, and we are going to put a little red Loctite on it, because these screws are not something you want to have to mess with or come loose. A little dab will do you. Trusty MIP driver. Like so. Once again, we're going to start all 6. Hope you all having an awesome day. Talking about snow coming in this week where I live. Not sure I'm ready for all that. The way I see it, it can come hang out and then leave again. Yeah. got all 6 started. Let's go through and get them all snugged up, and then we'll come back through and gun them all down tight. Some things I've noticed it's just as fast to use your hand driver as it is to use the power driver. I got one right here. Some of the stuff I'll use it on, but it's not that much faster when you need to check it by hand anyway and make sure it's good and tight. I'm going to go through and make sure all these are good and tight. Double check them. You don't want to have to pull an axle apart just because you didn't get screws tight enough or didn't use Loctite on this stuff. You can use blue or red. I'm using red on these. Sweet. Now, you can see what I did with my grease. Oh, it's up here. Hold on. As some of y'all I'm sure know, some of y'all, you'll buy one of these things, and this is just Napa Premium multi-purpose grease. I've had this tub for probably 6 or 8 years. This is what I use. Like I said, I don't think it's that critical, this grease or that grease. As long as there's a grease in it, for what we're doing, it's fine. As before, we're gonna pack these 2 open bearings because we're not gonna have bearings without grease. That's just silly. So make sure you get grease down in this down in these gaps here. Make sure you want that good and loaded up. Get it in there, spin it around, push it in there more, spin it around, push it in there. That one all greased up. We're going to put the rest of the grease on the ring gear. Should be plenty. Now as before, bigger bearing goes on the inside like that, and you drop her through, boop. Other sealed bearing goes on the outside. Make sure you get her all the way home. I'm gonna put my thumb here. I'm gonna use a rod end driver just to make sure we get that all the way home. That bearing should be flush right there. Not sticking up, not proud on it or anything. Looking good. That rod end driver's not quite deep enough to seat that. Alright. Drop in our diff. Bloop. Put that in there. Now we're going to use the power driver. as always, start all 4. Check these by hand, just make sure we got them good and snug. Bob's your auntie. 2 tubes. We use all these are the screws to hold the tubes into your pumpkin housing. There's your link mounts. There's your C-hubs. These are 0 degree with peg, so the kingpin style, good and strong. And here's your tubes. So, the La Perra is a right drop front axle. So after you press in the short side tube, you're gonna have 2 holes there, then nothing on top. That's the way it goes. This hole here, it's for this screw. That hole there's part of your truss. That's for your link mount, and that's for your C-hub. So we got the one side in, we're going to put some screws in it. We're using red Loctite again, because I don't want this stuff to come apart. Dropped it. Now we're just snugging these up for now until we verify our alignment. Straight across top of our axle with both tubes. So those are started. Now we're gonna get this side in. Now, this is how this slides in, guys. That hole for that hole for your truss. That's for your link mount. These are for your truss, link mount holes, C-hub holes. So 3 in a row on top though. Get it pushed in. Have to give that a little tappy tap, I reckon. Put the screws to the other side so I could tap it. There we go. Start our other 4 screws. Haha, get over there. Do you know where your home is? Really? Come on, Bumblefingers. Need to go in a hair one? Blonde one more? Does need to go in a blonde one more. Yep. There she goes. best I could tell, looking down this, all that looks lined up real good. So we're gonna go ahead and snug up all 8 of these screws. As I've said before, you can put the truss or something on, there's a little bit of misalignment, you can back these screws off and you can twist these a little bit, like a degree or so either way, a little bit of room, but there ain't much. But there's some play in there if you need it. Good and tight. Next bag. Link mounts. Truss mounts. All that. So now, you look at these, you're going to notice they're canted a little bit for your links to be in line. That way you don't need a bent rod end. So that's pretty nice. So goes to the inside. So this is the one that goes on the right. Slide her on home. See what set screw there lines up right there. Set screw lines up there. Taller screw lines up right there. So then this one goes on, the single. Goes in, lines up right there with that hole in the axle tube. And now this one goes on next. And that lines up with the hole in the axle tube on the top for your truss. Set screw on the front to help locate it. So, we're going to start with our set screws. Once again, I'm going right for the red. You know, some folks like it, some folks don't. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to run that down so it's pretty much flush. Come on. There's one back behind here too, in the middle. If I could stop dropping it. Bumblefingers Magoo over here. Same deal, you're going to run that down about flush. You run it too far, you'll run into the axle shaft. If you're with some binding in your axle shaft later, that's very possible that might be your problem. Same deal on the other side. Nice flush. Now this one will bolt on with your truss. See these 3 screws here? Actually, we got 4. So, that was bag 2. Moving on to bag 3. Ta-da! Dump that out. So, got our truss plate, goes like so. Got our hardware bag, so lots of screws to put in. have our pinion snout support. We'll drop her on there like so. Now I'm gonna have to refer to my other truck, to my Mini, to remember how all this goes together. So now, guys, we're gonna start on our truss. Got your ball socket head screw deal thing here. Pretty nice. They go right. Start with this one right here. Put the nut on the bottom. Get that started. Start this other one. These are for your front of your upper forelink. Now on these Minis, my space is at a premium, so you gotta save every millimeter you can. Hence the why we use these little hollow ball socket head ball head screws, you want to call them. All right. Now at this point, if you had a servo you're going to put in it, you put your servo in now. And I'm gonna grab my truck here, my personal truck. This is a little older version, my truck is, than this kit kit we're doing now. And bear with me, it's dirty. Servo goes in like that. You would go ahead and install that servo now before you bolted this housing onto the axle, because you got nuts back here you need to get at. So if you're building that all the way out, now it's time to install that servo. Since we're not doing that currently, we're going to move on. Now right here, back here, goes this little spacer. It's going to run your battery. Your battery will run into that. So you want that there to stop that. Oh, we're going to Loctite that too. Basically, I'm going to Loctite anything that's not going in or through plastic. Anything that doesn't have kind of squish, if that makes any sense. A material that has squish, you could tighten a bolt down on, it'll stay tight. But material that doesn't really have any squish, you want to use Loctite on. That sticks at the top. Now we're going to lob this on. So we got 3 long screws here, here, and here. And they're going all the way through these plastic mounts into this axle tube. So a little bit of Loctite, and we're going to start all 3 before we tighten any of them. Yep, I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, I want that one. That's the one I need there. It's these 2. The other one I got must have been a hair short. Boy, this buddy's outside making a ruckus. So I'm going to switch out all 3 of those screws, because those other ones weren't biting good. This one's barely biting too. Alright guys, now that I have the right screws, see the difference here? I don't have my actually I do. The screws you want to use going through here are the longer ones in this group. $18 millimeters, not 16s. Yeah. So these three are your 1, 2, 3. Your M3 by 18 mil. Don't mix them up like I just did. Go put 16 mil in there, and you wonder why it doesn't have any thread biter, why you pull the threads out of it. If you put it together and it doesn't feel right, go back. It probably isn't right. There's something up. Whether it's the wrong screw, like it's what I just ran into. Alright. Got all three in. Let's get all three started before we crank any of them down. Yeah, that one's biting now. Yep. Did I just put the wrong one of that in again? See, now I'm unsure of myself. I have to pull it back out and double check. Yep, sure enough. Grab the wrong one. As soon as I felt that grab, I'm doing that by hand. I'll back these off just a hair. We still got to put this other support back here on. That'll be countersunk. A little more Loctite. All right, now once all four are started, now we can crank them down. Sorry for the back and forth there. I'll kind of clean that up in the edit. Make sure I don't tell you guys wrong. All right, now, so the hardware, we got our link mount screws. So 16 millimeter ones here for your link mounts. Here and here. There and there. Turn this around. These here, see they have the washer built in. Those are for your servo. Just to spread that force out on your servo. So there's 4 of those. Six washers. Then your nuts to hold all that on there. We'll get to those in a bit though. Now, C-hubs. These are 0 degree with the pegs. So we're going to see how these. Nice. Those drop on like so. I don't know the exact number. There's about 20 degrees of 20-ish, maybe give or take a little bit of a caster built in right here. Caster, that's leaning it back, not camber in or out. But yeah, it's pretty nice. So then we got 4 short stumpy screws here to hold all that together. Using Loctite on those. Of course. You don't want these coming loose. Now, if you wanted to change this caster, you could simply just, there's enough room, and there's holes top and bottom, so you could just re-drill and change your caster the way you want it. If you wanted more, you wanted less, you put it on something besides a mini, you know. However, the axle ended up in the truck if you needed to adjust that. Got them both started. Let's take them down. Good and snug, don't pull the threads out. Dog's in there whining because the boy's out back with the Suzuki. So far, so good. Bag number 4. Axle shafts. Pretty straightforward stuff. But those are going to go with the so let's go ahead, we'll send these home. Actually, let's wait a second. We're going to build the knuckles at the same time. I'm going to get a little out of order. The bag says to build the tie rod drag link next. We're going to do that last. So, we're going to do all this together. Here's our knuckle screws. Let's put our screws up here. So, we're going to lay this out just like the axle sits. Countersunk, top. That's how that goes. You guys have watched me build knuckles before. This is not rocket surgery. Now, that's this little cutout is for a bearing. Little knuckle bearing on the bottom. We're gonna start with dropping this on like that. Bearing, bearing, axle shaft. Come on, that fell off. That's okay. Don't you know where your home is? Alright, so I figured out what I did wrong, guys. What was my hold up? Now, we were discussing a little bit earlier about the different length screws for these. So, the 16s are too short. The 18s are a hair too long. So the solution is to use the 18s with a washer under each one. Otherwise, the threads of the screw will protrude too much into the axle tube and they'll run up on the axle shafts. See, having not built this particular axle like this with all these new parts, I didn't know that. Now I do. You're learning with me. So, we got that sorted out. Got our axle shaft slid home. Now we're moving on to our knuckles. So, bearing, collar up, or collar towards the middle of the axle. Left or right, doesn't really matter. This part goes on the bottom. Bottom inside. That's where that cutout goes. So slide her on over. Boop. Pop the bearing out. You guys don't understand these bearings on our 8mm stuff. Look at that. Yeah, you're not going to hurt those bearings bashing around having a good time. Now, got that like that. These are 1/9 heavy lowers. We're going to start with that. It will drop on. There's no screw needed. So, that kind of drops in there. Gotta get it straight. Sometimes they want to fight you a little bit. Now, some of these lately, Some of these have been a little bit, here, I'll just pull it out and show you. Correct. Some of these have been a little, see that? That's a little tight fitting. Now if I squeeze it with my hands even, boop, it's going all the way down. So it's fine. You want that good and tight. I was just able to just squeeze it down by hand. But yeah, some of them are a little tight. As you can see, boop, doesn't want to come back off. But, so, got our flange bearing in there. Slide him up on the bottom, like so. Bottom inside, that little cutout. Slide them home, like so. Now we're going to use the outer set of holes on these, on the bottom, if you turn this over. Because we're 0 degree. Wrong one. Start all 4 of these. Since these are 0 degree, we're using the outside set of holes. If you were using 8 degree, you'd be using the inside set. Start all 4. Snug them down. Now we'll do the other side same way. Now let's go ahead and do the other knuckle. It doesn't really matter. There, I settled back into place. Now, wrong one. There we go. Take our bearing, our kingpin bearing, knuckle bearing, flange knuckle bearing. Get that good and home. Drop her on. Boop, boop. Then, the short screws. Inside set. Let's do the other side. Bearing. Slide on. Bottom inside. Slide her home. Get her somewhat close. Roll it over. Come on now, don't be fighting me. It's gonna fight me like that, huh? It wants to fight me because that little bit is pinched. That pinch is tight. dang it. Get those started and turn it over and dump them out, guys. Story of life, right? That one's a little longer than I want. Got all 4 started. Let's crank them down. Other knuckle bearing in from the bottom. But don't go in straight. Don't push it in crooked. Pull it back out. That one took some force to wiggle in there. It's in there now though. Before these started. Got all those, let's crank them down. You can Loctite these if you desire. Blue should do it. You don't need a red out here on these. Boom. All right, next. Ultra narrow hubs. Grub screws, 3mm pins. Now, these are only drilled for 3mm. These aren't drilled for 2.5 like the others. Here's what we're going to do though. I'm just going to grab another random screw. You guys have seen me do before. I'm going to thread it in by hand. I'm just using a long one just because it's easier. I'm going to thread it all the way into that pinhole. Flush. You want that all the way through. Now we're going to roll this into here. We talked about before. One side of these pins is a little bit chamfered. That side. Come on. Doesn't want to start. Forgot. One, when you go to start these, make sure these are all the way out. 2, take your driver. Make sure there's no burrs. Slide her back on. It's lined up. See? Now she slides on easy peasy. Push her down. Hits that other screw. Grab our next size up driver. Red Loctite. By putting that screw in the bottom, we prevent that from going too far and interfering with your hub screws. And it gives me something to reef on to tighten this. This part goes to the outside. So make sure it's pulled all the way out. We'll make sure our bearing's pushed all the way in. Check our, make sure we're there. Same as before. Push it down nice and easy. Dink. Right, there's your axle shafts. Pull that out. Now we've ensured that our hub screws here and here won't interfere with that pin. So, next bag, tie rod drag link. Bag number 6. Guys, now it's time to build our tie rod and drag link. Now, one of the tie rod is getting your offset. It's not bent, it's all your offset rod in there. The other one's going to go straight on the other side. Offset's going to go on this side because it's going to be closer to that and give you a little more steering angle. Use our handy dandy link driver, rod end driver. You'll take that about all the way in. I stop a little shy because we can adjust it because we're going to set our toe. All right, there's that. Straight rod ends on both ends of our drag link. Same deal. Handy dandy rod end driver. Pretty much all the way home on those shoulders. We can adjust from there. Yep. Ah! Now, those are straight. Now there's one of these hollow balls that's got a spacer on it. That goes on your drag link side. Oop. If you look real close at these rod ends, one side is fatter than the other. See, that's a little skinnier than that hole. That's the one you want to push your rod end through though. Like that. When you're starting your rod ends, you can look for that. It's about the same way on every rod end that exists. You save yourself a lot of hassle. Yeah, so there's your drag link, tie rod. Now, drag link on top, slide it through. We're gonna put a washer on top of that, just so we can't blow it off there. Like that. Now, the offset one goes on that side. Other side, bottom, like that. So now, get all your angle both ways. If you look here close on the bottom, puts this together, you'll see why we have that offset rod end right there. You see you're all the way into your housing there. If it was in the middle, it'd be hitting and be stopping you. That's easy to fix though. So there's all your angle. So up here's your servo mounting hardware left over. A couple of screws, because I mixed and matched a couple. But there you go, fellas. Perra Loca Builders kit front axle. Top to bottom, front to back, side to side. That's how she goes. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Put them in the doobly-doo down below. For next week's video, we're going to build the chassis and assemble the entire truck. So now both axles are built. Got all the shocks built. Next step, build the whole truck. All right, thanks guys. See ya.